Hello, strangers. It's been a while. I really miss being on here. I have quite a few things to talk about, so I'm gonna get right into it. I've been really focusing on ceramics lately. So I just had my last launch, and within the last launch, I had these boots for sale. And this is a big deal to me because for a long time I've been trying to work with color. I fire my ceramics at a very high temp place, so sometimes there's like inconsistencies with colors and stuff like that, and it's a little bit frustrating, but I love the feel of a cone 10 or high fire kiln. So I just like how it feels, and I prefer that over I guess the visual glaze or how it looks. If you don't know, there's like low fire, medium fire, and also high fire when it comes to ceramics. And with high fire, a lot of restaurants will use that because it's a bit more durable and it just feels better. Like I'll fidget with something like this. I'll just like play around with it as if it's like a fidget spinner. I'll like sit on my couch and just like fondle it and stuff. But I just like the way it feels. So that's why I kept sticking with it. And also because of convenience, it's like the studio that I go to is super close to my house. But the only thing is that the colors, like vivid colors, don't show up very consistent, which could be a good and bad thing. So I've been testing this out for a while, and a lot of trial and error, and then finally was able to find a solution. And yeah, I really love how the color looks and how, especially how it feels, and how the details really show up because some of the glazes kind of droop over these like lined detail parts. And yeah, I feel like this was a really good turnout. So I think this is going to be a part of the permanent collection. On to other news. This right here, this is a little match lighter holder. It holds a mini Bic like perfectly. So it kind of just like clicks in there, and yeah, so you can, there's a little like pinhole right here so you can pull it out or stick a pin in there pretty easily, or like a pen, and then pull the lighter out and then just kind of slide it into this lighter holder so it's forever able to refill. I really like this because it's a vintage design, but since I've been making a lot of boots, the owner of Good Art took one of the boots that I made and scaled it down perfectly and made a few little changes so that it fits a lighter and holds a lighter perfectly. And it's made of solid silver, sterling silver, so it is going to be a little bit pricier. So there's going to be a very limited run, but it's really fun to have, and I've been carrying this in my pocket and just playing around with it in my pocket. But also he made the bottom part textured so that you can use a Strike Anywhere match to also light it up too, which is completely unnecessary, but it's a cool little feature. Yeah, it's just something that I would keep or have been keeping in my pocket just because I'm so proud of it and I love how it feels. This will be coming out, I believe, September 8th, but follow my Instagram, follow their Instagram if you want to keep up with the updates. I just got this from my friend Valerie. Okay, so I think this is genius. So this is a wall piece, so you can hang it on your wall. It looks so like mid-century, and she's made it in a bunch of different colors. She actually has a really cool Instagram. I think it's called Squiggles or something like that, but she posts all her other art on there, and she's got some fantastic stuff. The cool thing about this is that it hangs on your wall like a wall art or wall piece, but you can also take it down and lay it down flat, or use it as like a watercoloring situation because there's like all these grooves in here, so you can mix different watercolor things, or you can hold it as like an acrylic paint thing, you know, if you're going up to your painting and stuff. So I don't know what that's called. What are they called? I just think it's such a clever design and it looks so cool, and even her signature looks beautiful. Yeah, show her some love if you're on her Instagram. I haven't talked about like movies or shows that much lately, but for the last few years, I was introduced to High Maintenance by my boyfriend because he watches that show, and it's about a weed dealer who lives in Brooklyn, and he bikes around, he sells weed to a bunch of different people back when you couldn't really get weed. And it's not about him per se, but it's about the people who he associates with. So it's just like one-off shows, and it goes off about like individuals' lives, right? It goes through people's lives and it shows lives in New York, or kind of like a romanticized, well, maybe not even romanticized because a lot of it's pretty grim, but it's a little bit more upbeat in terms of every episode ends on a good or more positive note. And it's very heartfelt. It's like also a comedy too. Yeah, very real life experiences. If you're curious about people and you're curious about how people live, I think that's a show that you would like. A few days ago, we realized that there's also a web series, so like season 0, essentially, you know? So we started watching through all the web series, and it's using a lot of the same characters over and over again. If you haven't watched the High Maintenance web series, highly recommend. All the shows are pretty short too, so yeah, it's easy to follow and easy to kind of fall in love with the characters and stuff. In terms of music, you know what? I recently started falling in love with music again. So, like, starting to collect music again. When the pandemic hit, obviously, like everyone else, everyone was stuck at home. And I was DJing like a few times a week and stuff before that. And then I found myself just staying at home. So then I told myself that I would go through all my records because I don't know if you know this, but I DJs, so oftentimes record labels or record stores or record companies will send DJs records to listen through and then share or not share. And for the most part, I don't really like a lot of the stuff, so I canceled or I asked people to stop sending stuff for the past few years. And yeah, every once in a while, I'll take something in. Like I just took in a jazz record the other day, but I have so much stuff that it's become kind of a problem. And because there's so much stuff, I'm like kind of discouraged to listen through all of it. It sounds like such a first world problem. It's just dealing with clutter, you know? I don't like clutter, and there's just so much of it in my life. I just got another record, and this is like one that I've like I'm actually really excited about this one. So yeah, I'm really proud of it. And this came out in like 1995, I think. The EP was released in 1996, but this album says 2000, so it might have been a repress. It's Automator, Danny Automator, and with like a couple different rappers and stuff. And I've always loved Danny Automator because through his music, I've been able to discover other music. Even though most of his music's through hip hop and rap and maybe some pop. Like he's worked with Gorillaz and stuff too. I don't really know that much music about, or before him, I didn't really know that much about jazz or psychedelic or soul. And through a lot of his music, I was introduced to new genres, right? So whenever people say, oh, I hate it when Drake or Kanye or Kendrick like ripped off this, like the song from like another time, you know, they're like, oh, they just ripped it off. That's not necessarily the case in my opinion. I think what they're doing is sharing music that you wouldn't hear this time around, you know, like I wouldn't know about this type of music unless someone more popular or someone currently will echo it, you know? So I think it's cool. That's why I think hip hop is my favorite genre, because I just learned so much more about other stuff. But in this, so Kool Keith is an artist that I really like, and he's on this album, and there's a song called It's Over Now that I love that's not on Spotify. It's on YouTube, so I'll link it down below. But on that song, he raps about, like a lot of people rap about, you know, like cars, money, all that stuff, which is fine. But he talks about how hard it is to go on tour and be broke and like not have enough money for rent. But he talks about like the difficulties in touring and being an artist today, which is in the early 2000s or like in 1996, because he was like a bigger artist, I think in the 80s. But he's changed his style so many times that he's always like pretty current. He's kind of like, I guess kind of like MF Doom in a sense, with like a lot of side projects and stuff. And that song, It's Over Now, also samples another song that I'm so into now. And it's like an early, I want to say like a 70s jazzy psychedelic song. I'm going to look it up real quick, but it's called Poopa, or Sour Soul by Poopa and Alan Goranger. Listen to those both individually. I know like one's a sample of the other, but they do it really well. And because of that sample, other artists have also sampled the same song. So I thought that was really cool. I know it's like a nerdy long talk about music, but this album's really good. If you like hip hop, actually even if you don't like hip hop, if you like jazz. If you like psychedelic music, I think you would like this because it's just poetry over that kind of music, in my opinion. Long-winded talk. Now I'm kind of sweaty. Okay, so I do ceramics, obviously, right? So my nails are always thrashed, and I usually always have to keep it pretty short because, well, it just gets really like worn out and it starts splitting. I have this one nail that just always splits once it gets to a certain length. So I always have to keep it relatively short. However, I just started using this. It's a like an LED system. So there's like a little lamp that you put your hands underneath. But there's a base coat, color, and then also a top coat. And it's by this brand called INQUIRES. And this line's called Green Flash. And it's meant to be better for you than a normal gel nail polish. I agree, because when I removed my first set, my nails weren't all like dried up or worn out or anything like that. And they actually grew because they had a chance to grow, because instead of the clay scraping off and exfoliating the top layer of my nail, it's scraping off and exfoliating the top layer of my gel. So that's good. And it wasn't really drying out. And also the finger that, or the nail that I was saying that starts to split after a certain length, it was actually able to grow past that. So I mean, so far it's been really good. And I think for someone who's a ceramicist, it's fantastic because it doesn't mess up your nails. I know that with this brand, their selling point is that it's better for you than a normal gel polish. But for me, that doesn't matter as long as the product works. So if it works and it's also better for you, it's a bonus. It lasts longer than a normal nail polish, and it removes easily, which is super important to me. So when it comes to cooking stuff, so I've been watching a lot of Carla Lawley music, obviously, and then in her videos, she uses a spatula thing that looks like, I mean, it's this, because I actually reached out to her and I'm like, hey, what is this wooden spatula thing that you always use? It looks so cool. And she's like, oh, it's by this brand called Earlywood. So then I looked them up and then I bought one, and boy, this is fantastic. It's way better than a regular spatula because it's wooden, so I can use it on my cast iron, I can use it on anything, and it doesn't really wreck the pan, but it's thin enough that it can get underneath fried eggs, for instance, and it's narrow enough so that you can really like mix stuff in there, because I often cook with chopsticks because it can maneuver easily. I don't like the sound of metal spoons scraping across stuff, so I kind of stay away from that as much as I can, even though I have a Grey Coon spoon and I love it so much. I just don't like listening to it hit metal on metal. So something that's wooden is fantastic. Something like this is ideal. I initially bought it thinking if I don't end up liking it, then I'll use it as a ceramic tool, because I actually end up using something like this to like flatten out surfaces a lot, like tap on ceramics and flatten out things when they're still clay. But this is pretty fantastic. I got an air fryer. Well, this is the Breville Smart Oven Air Fryer Pro. I have it in the kitchen. I'm not gonna move it around because it's pretty big, but it's a toaster oven essentially. It has like air fryer capacity, and it does everything that your oven does essentially, but just much smaller. So if it's hot outside, you don't want to warm up your entire house by using your oven, right? So I use my old toaster oven like every single day, but then in the past couple of months, it just kind of crapped out. And I've had it ever since like college or something like that. So it's a really good investment. But after it broke down and I couldn't fix it, I was looking up different toaster ovens to buy. I considered like an actual air fryer where you pull things in and out. But then I'm like, I need like a toaster too, because I eat a lot of bread and I want something to roast my vegetables. So yeah, a toaster oven is just ideal for me. So I looked up a bunch of different brands, and everyone talks about how they love their Breville one, and everything linked to this one. And I know that they just did a collaboration with Jewel recently, and my friend Khan works for Breville, and he shot these photos and he shared it on Instagram. So then I was like, hey, between the Jewel one and then the older model, which do you prefer? And he's like, well, I have this one and I love it. So then he's like, I vouch for this one, so get it. So as soon as I got it, I mean, everything changed. It's just so much easier to make everything. And I love cooking, like even bacon, for instance. Making bacon in a toaster oven is just so much easier than heating up an actual oven, waiting it for it to come up to temperature, and then I don't know, it's just not as manageable as a smaller, more compact situation. Last thing is a giveaway. So De La Fuente and I De La Fuente partnered with me for this giveaway, and she designed this hat. It just came out. It's so cute. This is perfect for summer because obviously with my black hair, it just absorbs heat. So, I mean, this sits on top, right? And there's still circulation, like there's still air that circulates so you don't get crazy hat head. And then I love the little string because a lot of people don't know this about hats, but as soon as the wind hits, it just takes your hat with you, you know? So a string is absolutely necessary. But also, it's great because when you're not wearing it, you can just have it on your back like this. And I just think it's really cute. So she decided to, or De La Fuente decided to give one of you a hat. So the rules are you have to go to my Instagram. I'm going to have a post maybe right here. You just have to go to my Instagram, find this photo, and then you have to like it. You have to follow both of our accounts, and you have to tag a friend. And if you want to reshare on your stories, then that's like an extra entry. I'll link all the information in the down bar, obviously, but if you're interested in winning one of these hats, just go ahead and do all of that, and then we'll pick a winner, I believe, on September 5th. Which is a Monday. Thank you everyone for watching and for your support with everything. And yeah, things have been good. I hope you guys are doing well. See you guys in the next video. Bye.